So besides the previous example, which matches the value versus a returning result of a subquery, in that case, we can guarantee the return result of the subquery is a value, is a scalar, right? However, in most of cases, the subquery will return a table, a relation. And SQL also provides us with lots of keywords or operators to do queries based on the subquery to help us. And in this page, we're going to introduce an important operator. It's called in operator. So formally, the in operator can check if the tuple is a member of a relation or not. If we plan to use this in operator, we can use tuple in relation. It's a Boolean statement. It will return true if the tuple belongs to or is a member of this relation. It will return false if it is not the case. Besides in, we can also use this tuple not in a relation, means the other way. And normally we use this in expression in the where clause. And the relation normally can also be a subquery actually. At the bottom we show you with the example. So we have a question from a beer's table with name manufacturer and next table between the drinker and the beer. We want to find the name and the manufacturer of each beer that Fred likes. So before we show the answer, you can also write down a query by yourself if we want to use these two relations to do this question. I think you should be able to write down a query, right, without using a subquery. So we can select the beers dot manufacturer and the name, right, from beers likes where the likes dot drinker equals to Fred and beers dot name equals likes dot beer, right? This is what we can write before we learn the subquery. If we plan to use subquery in this question, how can we do this? So the first sub-question in your mind should be, what is the name of beer that Fred likes? Right? And the second question will be, what is the name and the manufacturer of these beers? So to answer the first sub-question, we can write down a subquery inside the parentheses. With parentheses, select beer from the likes where drinker equals to Fred. So this subquery will return what? Will return the beer name, right? The beers that Fred likes. However, for this question, we want to find both the name and the manufacturer of these beers. Therefore, we can use this subquery as an intermediate result in our size select from where statements. We can write down select star. I hope you still remember what is the star here. From beers, where name in this subquery. And we have semicolon denoting the end of this query. Here we use this in operator to help us. In operator will check this attribute. Is in the return result of this subquery or not? If so, we will select them and return them. Otherwise, we will just prune them. So this subquery will return a table, right? Inside this table, we have one single attribute, it is the beers. However, we have multiple rows. And this is where in the subquery will check if its name of this beer is in this table or not. The table denoting the intermediate result by subquery. If so, we will return both the name and the manufacturer, because here we use a star here. Okay, so this is the way we can write down this query by using the subquery together with the in operator. It can be very helpful because it can provide us with another way to think about this question. We can do this question in a hierarchical way. And we can do is find the beers that Fred likes and then further find both the name and the manufacturer information of these beers. Okay, so this is about the in operator. The in operator we showed before can check if a tuple is inside a relation or not. And sometimes we don't want to check this. We just want to check if a return result is empty or not. If it is empty, then we can return false. Otherwise, we can return true, right? So then, if so, then we have to use this exists operator to help us. Formal grammar for the exists will be like this. Exists, we have parentheses. Inside, we have a relation. This operator will return true if and only if the relation we are working on is not empty. So this exists is also a Boolean operator. It can be used in a where clause as well. We'll provide you with an example for using this exists operator to help us. So from the beers table with name and manufacturer, please find those beers that are the only beer by their manufacturer. Before we should answer, you can also write down a query by yourself if we don't use subquery or the exists operator. So here we can do this question with the subquery as well as the exists operator. So if we check the subquery first, inside the parentheses, we have a statement select store from beers where manufacturer equals to B1 manufacturer. This B1 denotes a variable. It's a renaming of the beers table, right? B1 denoting the beers B1 here. And this domain for the manufacturer, this manufacturer denoting the beers, this beers. And if we also want to use the manufacturer of the beers, the B1, then we have to use this B1.manufacturer, right? It has a different domain or scope. At the same time, we also need to make sure and the name of this beer not equals to B1.name. So please be careful when we write down the query like this about the scope. The manufacturer refers to the closest nested from with the relation having that attribute. In other words, the manufacturer without this relation name, it denoting the attribute of this beers, this relation, which is the closest to this attribute inside this query. Similar for this name, it is also one attribute in this beers, this relation. So this subquery will return what? We return the beers with the same manufacturer as B1, but they have different names, right? If this subquery is not empty, in other words, given a beer, the B1, right, we can always find a beer with different name produced by the same manufacturer. On the other hand, if this subquery is empty, it means we can never find some other beers with the same manufacturer by different names. This should be the result we want to get, right? Therefore, outside this subquery, we have another name from beers B1 is the renaming of the beers, where not exists. Then we have this subquery as shown here, and we have a semicolon denoting the end of the query. In this way, we can find the beers which are the only beer by their manufacturer. We can never find some other beers from the same manufacturer but with different names. Here we use this not exists to help us. It will check if the subquery is empty or not.